Yeah, we don't. He could have a little bit of sidewall damage there to the car that could be affecting his aerodynamics just a little bit, but here comes Doug thinking about a move to the outside, going down into the chicane. He's going to have to be very brave to do it and pulls it off. Oh, you can't get a whole lot closer than that. My goodness gracious.
Let's take a look at this from the hood, because this is where Partridge needs to change his pants, and Kinchler probably does too after he saw what happened in his mirrors. But Partridge comes in too hot, clips that inside curve, gets unsettled, then he's on the brakes. We're going to go in slow-mo here to see how close it was, and it was very close.
Yeah, the top three have been an incredible fight. Oh man.
Gently does it, boys, as they make their way down. They bang wheels. Oh, Sebastian Tixier, he goes tumbling over. Trengerade going off the circuit. Goodness gracious, looked like Jim Shedlick went off the track in sympathy there.
This is the view that he has going through. He sees a couple lights in the distance, trying to get it rejoined.
Oh, that's not good. Careful, boys, careful. Too wide coming up, Eau Rouge. And the loser there is going to be Vaughn as Karthik Pai keeps his foot in it. Vaughn going to lose another position there to Mika Lino. And Lino going to go for a 2-for-1 as they come down the Kamel straight. He has got such massive overspeed. Look at that move from the number 5 machine.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to ride around the world.
I'm Mick Claridge, and I'm going to ride around the world on my bike.
My son, he gave me advice at the start of this ride, and he looked at me and just said, "Dad, don't be a moron."
Let me do my animal signal to gain their respect. How's it going, Sally? Yeah, I'm alright, Mick. How's it going? Worse than that bit in Lord of the Rings where they go into the top and the spider's in the tunnel. I'm just hoping there's a spider at the top of this one to kill me. Freezing.
And I failed. I moroned up the ride.
From a brand new track to an old favorite. After Fuji, there are those probably hoping to get into their comfort zones again, and Watkins Glen is just what the doctor ordered. But that doesn't mean it'll be without its own dangers. Known for its high speeds, things tend to go wrong fast. Let's see if everyone can stay out of trouble as we get ready to watch round 3 of the Kamel GT series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Craig King. Behind the scenes is our director, Zach Johnson, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. If you haven't heard of Watkins Glen, you might not be a North American racing fan. Let's head to our track guide to help introduce you. Welcome to Watkins Glen International. Situated in upstate New York, just south of the Finger Lakes, this track has seen it all. Few road circuits can boast hosting Formula One, IndyCar, NASCAR, and IMSA during its history. Though it did have a brief fallow period in the early 80s, thanks to the investment of local companies, it's grown into one of the premier road tracks in the U.S. With 4 layouts to choose from that range between 2.5 and 3.5 miles in length, lap times can vary greatly. But it also means it's suitable for lots of different levels of racing, from amateur to pro. The one thing that stays consistent no matter which car and which layout you're using is that Watkins Glen means speed. Many of the straights are very long, and the majority of the corners are fast sweepers. Some of them include a surprising amount of banking as well. Combine that with the proximity of the barriers, and this historic circuit retains a very old-school feel. Drivers in lesser-powered cars can expect drafting battles, while higher-powered machinery will test the skill and bravery of their pilots. Some of the turns are visually iconic, such as the carousel and the S's. others like the inner loop, the chute, and turn 9 greatly challenge even the expertly skilled. And of course, we haven't even mentioned the drastic amount of elevation change drivers experience. Between its rich history and popularity among drivers, this track stays busy and seems likely to be that way for a long, long time. Well, Craig, this is a popular track, and sure, the Kamel guys are familiar with it, but what's it going to mean for today's racing?
Well, today is a very popular track. We know the main things here. We're looking at late apex corners, early apex corners, elevation changes, stress on tires, and multi-class. But we'll get to that in a bit because we've got to look at the 90 turn 1 at the moment. One of the things the GTPs are going to have to be looking for on this track is the bumps, because there's a lot of bumps on the curves that in some cars you want to be taking, but in these GTPs you want to be a little bit careful. So the exit of the 90, you've got that curb. That is going to be a little of a problem on these GTPs. They can go over it, they can run it a little bit, but you do risk not just getting floor damage, but you do risk losing the back of the car. Going up the S's for both classes, you are looking at a different story every time, just with the way it is, especially with dirty air, with clean air, or at the end of the race when your tires start to go. The inner loop, the bus stop as many people call it, but it is the inner loop officially. Who's going to be brave enough to take that aggressive line and kiss the barrier? Again, when you're a GTP, you're looking at going over the bumps. That's the story. Over the bumps, be careful. Same with the GTOs. We talk of the GTOs here. They'll be taking some safer lines around here today, especially the inner loop. Who's going to be brave enough to do that and kiss that barrier and almost just risk having damage there at the same time? For the GTOs, they'll take it clean. They'll take it safe. If you know a GT line around here, think that, but a little bit more careful. You just have to remember, you're looking at blipping the gears down on both the cars here. You don't want to overdo it when blipping. You want to make sure you're in the right gears here. And for both cars, the key thing here, there's the toe, and there is turn 9 going up, as I call the part of the Three Amigos there after the hill. It is a corner where both those corners, they're a little bit blind, and you can get on the throttle as early as you want. But too much throttle, you're going to be turning the back of the car around, losing the back. Or if you do get it right and you do keep that steering wheel straight, a little bit of understeer, you might find yourself going off into the grass. So either way, you've got to be careful, and especially when we look at the track temperature today, that is all important. We're looking at a cooler track temp, which is kind of a good thing for these drivers, because in the past they've been driving on 50 Celsius track temps and over 100 Fahrenheit. So it is going to be tough for them. But we come to that story of multi-class once again. The issue with multi-class around here, with the two different classes, the downforce of the GTPs, the GTOs and their speed, expect a little bit of dive bombing, not on purpose, but dive bombing just because of the speed difference and the lines that some of these cars can take when lapping the other classes. I like to use the term bookmarking. We're going to be seeing a lot of bookmarking here, putting that slower car in between you and your opponent, because that way you're able to get the advantage. But at the end of the day, throttle shape and throttle control will be key when you go and do those aggressive moves.
Yeah, we'll see who will have that kind of control, but let's take a look at the championship in the meantime, starting with the prototypes. And up at the top, Xavier Sanchez is currently leading the way. And in fact, if you look at our top 10, our first one to have won is Michael de Turk down there in 5th. And in fact, he's tied, of course, with Andy T. Now, those two each have a win and no other points. So that's why you see them tied down in that 5th position. Sintez Galindo, last season's champion, is once again up against Xavier Sanchez, who we faced off with last season as well. So can Xavier manage to overtake him this time out? We got a few more in there, including a tie between 9th and 10th for Lowry and Olsen. What about in the GTO championship over there, Craig?
Well, in the GTOs, Gregorio Brasemi does lead the championship. But what's interesting, you see, of course, it's early stages, how close it is. Laseca and Miller, they both have a win each. Both of them opting not to do Le Mans and Fuji, respectively. So they're there at 25 points at the moment. They're still just catching up, and they look to be just going on because, again, they've only taken 1 week. Everybody else in the top 10, they've taken 2 weeks. Jamie Hamill-Smith leaping up there into P2 with another good result last week, but he's only had top 10s. He's not managed to get into that important top 5 that a lot of the drivers have there. Ian Haycox as well, dipping in to the top 10 once again with another good result last week. Nicholas McCannell's just slipping in, but it is still very close in the ever tight and very close GTO series.
Now, for today's race, it's your traditional fare here in the Kamel Series. It is going to be a 40-minute event. It is open setup as always. Wondering who in the Nissans will be able to trim it out to try to find that straight line speed, because that will certainly come in handy out there despite all the fast corners. They also don't have a spare car, and watch out for these little blue barriers all along the track because they can gobble up vehicles quicker than you'd imagine. Drive-through penalty at 17 incidents and a disqualification at 25 means you got to keep it on the black stuff and inside the track boundaries, which will be another talking point we'll get to in a bit because this is the newer version of Watkins Glen, obviously. But here in qualifying, Alex Gal is back again and on provisional pole by more than half a second over Michael de Turk. But Lescala has unexpected competition, and Javier Del Olmo. Lescala usually dominates in this series, Craig. So Javier must have really put in a stonking lap.
Yeah, he put a really good lap. In fact, the gap between the two of them is 0.029 seconds. And then when you look at the semi's even shot to how close it is. He's 4 thousandths behind Lescala. So Javier Del Olmo just coming out there with a really quick 45.617, really surprising everybody. But again, just look how close it is outside of Alex Gal as well. De Turk might be 6/10 behind him, but then he's only 200th ahead of Sintes Godino. It is quite close as well. Toge Hazara, another 300th behind Lars Olsen, who again is just under a 10th away from Youngblood. So it's very close all around the field. I think we've got Mudrak, the last driver, out there to set a time. Is he just finishing up? I don't think he'll finish in time as he comes around the toe into the hill. One of these corners, of course, we were talking about the track limits. You can actually go really wide out here, and look how wide he uses. He doesn't use the full length that you would see with a lot of them, but being able to just get over that extra part of the curb, just able to just allow him to just get a little bit more speed. Round turn 9 into turn 10. He is just going to be short here. This will not count. He's 4 seconds away, and that should be all she wrote for qualifying.
Yeah, hey, unfortunately, it started just a hair too late. It's his top split here that you're watching for the Kamel GT series, and the grid is set. Alex Gal starting on the pole position is followed by Michael de Turk. Aitor Sintes Galindo will be starting from third, and Fabian Jungbluth in fourth. Great qualifying for Fabian. Lyle Stolzen, P5, will be followed by Togo Hisada, seeming to struggle a little bit compared to usual. He tends to be up in the top 3 oftentimes. Ove Trangrade will start from 7th as Xavier Sanchez also far down for himself from 8th position. Joseph Mudrak couldn't finish that second lap. He'll start from 9th, and Diego Mastretta will start from 10th. From there, you've got Seamus Power in 11th with Jack Wells in 12th. Yuri Geisen will start from 13th. 2 drivers did not manage to set times in the GTPs, Amber Dauenbaugh and Anthony Castillo. What about the GTO field here, Craig?
Oh, we talk about how close it was with Javier Del Olmo at the pole position when Joko Yaskala just beside him on the front row. Gregorio Buscemi, championship leader, will be P3, and then it'll be Reed Miller in 4th. Ian Haycox will take that 5th, and then Nicholas McCannos will be in the 6th. Dave Cameron makes a appearance in the Kamel series, and he will take 7th, and Robert Plumley will be 8th. Andreas Schuster takes the 9th, and Jamie Hamill-Smith will be 10th. Now, Hideki Kovivisto in a very low position there. He is starting 11th, and then Daniel Ivana will be 12th. Pablo Loza, the last of the qualifiers, in 13th, with Carlos Fonseca not setting a lap time. It is a 29-car grid here, and it does promise to be. It promises to be a lot of entertainment, I reckon.
That is for sure. And there's definitely some drivers that are relieved that we have split. We were close to having a full 55-car field, and we had 56, and that's the number at which they separated into 2 races. So this is as big as this track is, Craig. I am also kind of happy that we have the best of the best here today, because this is already going to be tough enough.
It is always tough around here, and I gotta be honest, I mean, I can't remember the last time I've done a clean broadcast around here. That's not a knock at anybody, it is just the nature of multi-class racing around here, as I was saying, with the different lines that you will be taking in here. So drivers have to be very careful when they're doing these corners, when they're doing these moves. This the 90, by the way. We were talking about the off tracks and we were talking about the track limits. Yes, you can go over that curb, but you will too far and you will incur a 1x, and too far again, you incur a slowdown. I hope in a 40-minute race we don't get somebody close to the incident limit that they have to take a drive through. However, if you do get a little bit of tunnel vision, as I have done myself recently, you just forget about that corner. You just get a little bit too aggressive on the throttle, and there's a 1x straight away. So that is going to be a danger corner in terms of people trying to nurse the incident points. But we knock on wood, and we hope that does not happen here. We want to see everybody getting around as clean and as fast as possible.
Absolutely, as you see the GTOs coming up to the back stretch now. And they are going to be having to watch those mirrors as they come up the S's, as some cars might not be willing to sit and wait for the multiple seconds they'll lose if the GTPs get stuck behind them through there. But let's take a look at some of our GTPs onboard cameras. We've got Alex Gal showing us his perspective, and glad to see him show us his view once again. But we've also got an old favorite, Lau Stolson with the pucker factor, has returned once again. Well, let's hope that it doesn't get too puckered up there this race, as it's certainly going to cause some scary moments in some of the faster corners that these Nissans can take compared to the GTOs, which are almost all mechanical grip around here. And there's the weather that we heard Craig talking about. It's 78 Fahrenheit, 26 Celsius for the track temperature itself. No wind really to speak of, thankfully. So that'll be a non-issue for them. But Michael de Turk is back, one of our 2 winners in the GTPs this season. But again, he comes over more so from the Lotus 79s. This is kind of a, I don't want to say a first season, but a little bit less familiar territory for him, Craig. So we'll see if he can keep this up, because so far in the first 2 races, he's actually shown pretty well.
Yeah, you talk about testing the waters. It's him definitely testing the waters in this series. And to be fair, he's been showing some really good pace around here, really just commanding, with the respect as well, a lot of respect from the drivers, because I believe some of the Kamel drivers did try to get him into this. But the pace car is coming around with just a couple corners to go. Can he get the move on Alex Gal right away? Don't expect it into turn 1. If he's going to make it, he'll try and get the run down up the S's into the inner loop. But Rome was not built in a day, and he's got 40 minutes, as is everybody else, to make a move here to see who will come out on top.
Yeah, I think playing it safe down into the 90 is going to be the call here, but we'll see who is able to resist the urge to absolutely chuck it in. Because right now, Alex has control of the fields, and he goes. Green flag is out, and it's a very good start from Sintez Galindo, who's already going to try and challenge de Turk for that second place as they send it down into the 90, but he's going to be pinched off to the inside, or is he going to get the exit? He gets a great exit, and he is up into second. I see no incidents behind him. What does the GTO start look like here, Craig?
Well, Aseka's got a fantastic start, as is Reed Millen. You can almost see just at the backfield, they look like they're almost 3 wide here. Little hustle and bustle from Buscemi. He's not had the start he wanted. He's lost a few places. They're almost 3 wide behind him, but they get by. Nobody at the moment has had any incidents, and that's what we want to see. Able to hold on, but Buscemi really needs to get... Well, I don't know what happened there. He just really got caught out there. McCanna's making a few places up. Miller going up as well, but Laseka making the move as they come down into the inner loop.
And unfortunately, Sintez Galindo got a slowdown penalty for cutting the course through the inner loop, so he has fallen down to 6th. De Turk is into 2nd. Those 2 were side by side for that position. Leskala still leads. He wasted no time in getting that position away. And look at this, coming down the inside, Sintez Galindo is wasting no time making up spots as he goes by Toga Hisada and moves into 5th.
Yeah, got to be making moves now. Got to be careful not to be too aggressive here. We all know what it's like getting a slowdown on the first lap. But he's been able to basically get past a couple people, and he's got Fabian Youngblood in front of him. He's still in that little slipstream range as he just almost a little bit of a slide coming up there. Was that a car just hitting the wall there? It looked like one of these GTPs did touch that wall there. Didn't see who it was. But he comes down and just looks straight away. He's been able to use that downforce, use the slipstream, maybe running a little less downforce compared to some of these drivers. He's caught up to half a second on Fabian Youngblood as they go up the hill. Don't expect to see anything yet, but he is catching, and you can start to see that pace of his is really showing.
Indeed, and Fabian seems to have a new lease on life in the past couple seasons, has been a lot more competitive, and the Turk is off and into the wall. Second place might be out of this race. He took a hard hit and he takes a tow, and Michael de Turk, unfortunately, will see another 0 in his score column. That after such a great qualifying and what was an intense but fair start for him.
Well, just what I was saying at the start of the race. Who's going to be brave enough to take that aggressive line? He tried it. And unfortunately for the Turk, it did not work for him. Well, let's see the replay right again. You're about to see it. He goes for that aggressive line. Beautiful camera work here. Just goes over. The car's already upset. The car is already upset the moment he touches it. And into the wall hard. Massive damage. And he has retired. He has towed that car. He's got out the car. Just watch this again. Hits it. You can almost see it. That's almost 4 wheels off the road there. He tried that line. It did not work for him. And unfortunately, he had paid the price big time.
The very first curb of the sequence, and it just chucked him out. Couldn't even stop it. But what this does for Alex Gal is he now already has a 3.5-second lead, and we're only on lap 3. Look at the distance behind him, and there it is. I was going to say, can we even see Laust in the same shot as he is promoted up into second place now? Gain of 3 positions. We've been covering these GTPs a lot, but really not a lot has been happening down to the GTOs, it seems. Alescala still leads Del Olmo, and Reed Miller is clinging on in third as well.
Yeah, Alescala just keeping that pace now. He's just been able to get Del Olmo out of the slipstream. Of course, Javier with a really good qualifying. It just really caught a few people out there with the pace he had in qualifying. Just not able to use that and just translate that into the race pace. Losing out a little bit there on the last couple corners there with Reed Miller now catching up there. It is very quiet. The gaps have spread out a bit in this GTO. But that doesn't mean there's a lot to go. There is still a little bit of a battle with Buscemi. He has gone down the order there, and he is still battling. He's got Dave Cameron in front of him. Wouldn't be surprised if he makes a move shortly, but we are seeing moves, and we are seeing people going around in the GTPs. You cannot look away anywhere here at Watkins Glen. There's always action, and that is a lot of damage.
Ooh. Yeah, I think something must have happened to Togo Hisada. He's losing places time after time here. He seems to be off pace. That's Mastretta, who's trying to go by, and now Seamus Power and Yuri Geisen, and still he does not pit in. It seems like he's going to try and struggle with it as Dallenbaugh is going to take advantage and get 1 and 2, maybe. Breaks a little bit earlier than Geisen, but Yuri is way wide, tries to come back onto the track. They almost think about 3 wide for a brief moment, but it looks like Amber is going to be able to take the spot. 2 wide now up through the S's. Yuri is fighting it out with Jack Wells, and they're barely giving each other enough space, Greg.
They are 2 wide. Who's going to blink here? Who's going to break first? No, it's Yuri, sorry. Yuri does get it, but he's clipped the grass there. Great save, hitting the brakes while on the grass. He does lose that to Wells, though. Fantastic little battles here. And it looks like Wells is going to make a move on Dagenbaugh. And they do indeed. Just straight in. Have they overcooked it? They have. They clipped the inside. Amber's going to get this running again. They're still continuing to battle. Is there going to be any moves here at the moment? Yuri goes in again, another light move there. Can he get it? The inside, not the line you want, going around the toe. And still side by side. Who's going to get the slipstream from Wells? He's trying to give it to both of them. Can he hold on to this? They do. And everybody just breathes a little bit, but there, Amber with a mistake, a little bit of a twitch. And loses that position, goes down 2 places from the start of this lap. Got to be careful not to go down another place with Castillo right behind.
Amber back down to 12th after it seemed like positions were there for the taking, but it was not meant to be. This is towards the back of the GTPs that we're watching here, essentially fighting for 10th place. Jack Wells now holds that spot in the number 18 machine. We got a bit of a battle in 5th in the GTOs. Robert Plumley is leading Dave Cameron and Gregorio Buscemi along with Ian Haycox. Gregorio with a giant killing performance back at Fuji's. Not able to quite repeat that today. Stuck down in 7th.
Now, ever since that bad start there, not sure what happened. I think he just got caught napping on the start. He's been unable to get by the cars. You can start to see he's now got a little bit of a gap. He's now 6 seconds behind the leaders after just a few laps. And I do see that the lead GTPs are now starting to get by them. It is that dangerous time. You probably see one of them just coming in the mirror very shortly, as that is Gregorio. Just looks to throw a little dummy there to see if Dave Cameron does fall for it, but does he hinder himself on that? He does. Here comes the first of the GPPs. Alex Gall's going to be waiting around turn 9, just holding on. And there it is, a little bit of a slip there from Buscemi, just on the throttle there, as I was saying. A little bit of patience. And now look at this line that Buscemi's taken, just goes around Dave Cameron, makes it, and just squeezes through Robert Plumley. That is very tough, and he does not even break a sweat. I would be pretty stressed out right now.
It amazes me the trust that some of these GTP drivers have in the GTOs. It's familiarity, as they've all raced against each other tons and tons of times, and they kind of know how this all works. But Alex is not waiting up for anybody, and he is using the traffic to great effect to slice through and hold up Laust Olsen, Fabian Jungbluth, and others who are still having to take their sweet time. In fact, got a bit of a battle here for second as Olsen sees Jungbluth weave in his mirrors, trying to find an opening, but no dice this time. They come through the inner loop. They're going to have to go by Nick Mukanos, who sits in fourth, weaving around the outside. And now look at this, Sintez Galindo, who we saw make that mistake on the first lap, is caught back up and looking to re-get the podium.
Yeah, trying to do what they can. Great recovery from Sintez Galindo, doing what they can, using the traffic to their advantage to just try and catch these gaps up. The same with Olsen and Youngblood. They are just trying to hold on, but Sintez Galindo having to go a long way around there on at the toe. And it's very interesting. You see that it does hinder them. And now comes the bookmarking, as I like to say. Put that slower car in between you and your opponent. That is what Laus has just done. It holds up, loses half a second to Fabian just by having to be held up by that GTO. And unfortunately, he does mean he just gets held now by Sintez Galindo. Sintez Galindo also having issues himself. And there is the sorry-looking... I thought that was the sorry-looking damage number 6 there, but it isn't. It's more GTP still battling through as they come around. And you can just see how tight it is. They can get around, and just a touch there. Is that going to be the 1 and 2 in the wall?
That's the 23 of Andreas Schuster, and he tries to cross the track at a very perilous time. Thankfully, nobody hits him. This actually started back in the heel of the boot with Seamus Power contact. We had just cut to it after the contact, and then, unfortunately, it all kind of cascaded down. As you could see, so many of them were clogged up. I wonder if we could get a replay of the 24 at that moment. Looks like we found it here. It's already dealing with a lot in front of him. That's Ian Haycox there. And the 18 tips him. Amber goes around. Everybody else, nobody else touches him. And then I guess just in trying to get back in the hunt, he was just a little too eager maybe.
Now, Mechanos' pit has towed. Mechanos has just had a moment just going up the S's, hit by GTP. I don't know if we can just see that Mechanos has towed from P4 while we're just looking at this incident right here. And unfortunately, that is Mechanos' race also done. Don't know what happened there. I think it was just a little bit. Here we go through the S's. No, yeah. The S's are the horrible complex full stop for multi-class racing. It is just a little, you've got to be dedicated to the corner, and when you're the faster car, you've got to understand what the lines are being taken by the slower car, and that just looked to be just a little bit of a communication error.
Yeah, Yuri Geisen was the one that came up to him and clipped him on the side. Almost from that angle looks like a bit of net code. Just a bit of it. They still probably would have had a scrape. But poor Nick Mukanos, kind of known for his bad luck in this series, has suddenly found it rearing its ugly head once again. But look at this. Great battle on screen coming down into the 90 side by side. This is between Robert Plumley trying to fend off Cameron and Buscemi at the same time. They're going to get passed by Seamus Power, who now is able to cleanly overtake them. And a little wide up through there. Plumley has to shut the door quickly. Cameron tries to use the speed. Now he's going to get the slipstream as they're already up to 150 miles an hour along the backstretch.
And down here, we're going to see a move from Cameron. He's going to try and go side by side. Haycox with the semi, with the side against it, and Cameron makes that move. Plumley decides against making any attack there. They do bunch up now with the 4 of them. That's Ian Haycox right behind them. And is there going to be a response here from Plumley? He does get a little bit of a better run out of the outer loop, but at the moment he's just holding back. A little bit of a slipstream battle by the 3 of these. Call it the 4 of these now, with Ian getting involved. Oh, running in the grass to Plumley, and he catches Haycox. He catches Haycox as well. And Haycox is right, Buscemi, sorry, not Haycox, Buscemi. Apologies, and Buscemi. Oh no, and he's just killed the 28 of Covey Visto.
Oh no, and I think Hideki. No, he did make a little bit of contact with him, unfortunately. Doesn't show a whole lot of damage. Giorgio is on the radio apologizing for that, but Buscemi initially. Oh, and Amber Dawnball also suddenly running into trouble as the sun continues to get a little bit low out here, at least down into the first corner. Looks like she's going to be able to get the car running once again. But yeah, Gregorio, unfortunately, just kind of caught out with Plumley just starting to lose control, and then from there was an innocent victim.
I thought Robert held it. I thought Plumley was able to hold it there, but unfortunately, just a little bit of a slide at the end there, and he just was unable to. And it was such a shame to see it. And there you go. You can see Buscemi, unfortunately, does have to get some repairs there. Wouldn't be surprised if he's got steering damage. That might be his race done. In fact, he does have the meatball flag, so it would not surprise me. That is a shame. We've had 2 big names in the GTO, both falling in the space of a lap. That is something you don't want to see. It is all happening, though, and it is still happening here in the GTPs. That is the 19th frustrator, and that is Gieson. And is he going to make a move around turn 9? Wow. He's not going to make that move. What a move from Yuri!
Yuri managed it the long way around of turn 9. That is not easy to do at an off-camber corner. Oh my goodness. So the 14 is on a mission. Now he's got to make up 6 seconds to reach Jack Wells, who is the next one up the road in 8th
You say that. Wells is spun. Sorry, Wells is just spun. You say that. He's just spun.
Oh, well, that's going to make life a whole lot easier. And with the speed that Yuri's got, he is easily passed.
He's made that 4 seconds up pretty easily. Wonder what his secret is to keep 4 seconds, but a fantastic. That's a shame with Wells. I think he just caught the curbing there just as well. And Mastresta, Diego just getting by as well as Wells. Not sure what damage he has there after spinning. I think he was lucky enough to clip the tire barrier. But again, another one of those things. He just clips that little curb on the exit of the 90, and it just upsets the floor of the car. And another one just falling foul. We say respect the bumps in Sebring. Can we say respect the curbs at Watkins Glen? Because that's what it feels like today.
It certainly seems like it, which is wild to me because I look at these curbs and I remember what the old ones were like on the previous scan just less than a year ago, where they were absolutely harsh, just atrocious juts up on the inside. You couldn't really touch them. And yet these have caught out so many of these drivers here. And in spite of all of this, I know we haven't covered the leaders all that much. Alex Gal still up at the top of the GTPs. The number 1 has about a 7.5 second lead. Lescala, not quite as much. It's 3.5, but he's continuing to stretch away from Del Olmo. Javier is another one that has found much improvement in the season since he first joined and has himself some multiple podium positions and has been fighting for wins lately. Robert Plumley, by the way, did recently lose a couple spots himself as he has fallen down into 20th, it looks like.
He's in a with Jamie Hamill-Smith at the moment as they're going around up into the toe, just holding on. 2 almost identical cars. They're both the same paint colors. Different schemes, different looks, and you start to see the front one is Hamill-Smith, the back one is Plumley as they go around. And once again, you can just see that looked a little bit of a slower apex there from Hamill-Smith. Alex Gal coming around them again. This will be the second time that they lap. We think it's going to be 4 times they go for lapping around here. And that would just give you an idea of how chaotic it's going to be for traffic as both of these guys continue to go on. And that is the 18 off. That is The 18 off, and that is some heavy damage for Jack Wells, though. We knew he already had some damage already. But unfortunately, that looks like his race is done after that. Would not be surprised if that was a bit of another spin there. Yeah, looked like he just lost control.
Yeah, coming out of the chute, unfortunately. Actually, there's a two-part incident. Anthony Castillo is involved in that. If this battle does not erupt, we'll want to try and get a replay of that incident coming along the backstretch as our pair of GTOs try and fight for the 6th position. There goes Hamill Smith, and unfortunately not able to get to the inside, and poor Laust Olsen is caught out with it, had to check up and wait patiently. That allows Sintez Galindo and Jungbluth to regain their time on that bright yellow and blue Nissan, now coming down into the chutes. The fight for 2nd place is on again.
And once again, traffic brings everybody together, and you've got to feel frustrated if you're Laus right here, because you're trying to pull away, you're trying to pull a gap, and all of a sudden you get held up in the inner loop. That's probably one of the worst places outside of the 90 to be held up here, as all 3 of these get by the battling Dave Cameron and Ian Haycock. It is so hard to see and to just think to yourself, okay, I've got this. Oh, I haven't, and all of a sudden all that work's just gone. It's just gone, and he's now battling hard. Olsen, Sintez Galindo, Jungbluth, they are all fighting on. It'll be interesting to see the lap times when they come around, because they have been pretty matching there. But again, Sintez Galindo pulling away when he can, and he's pulled on half a second right here. There is a little bit of lap traffic coming up, but he should be able to get past the first one. That's Reed Miller before the inner loop. Then the question is he going to get past Javier Del Olmo? Oh, it's going to be tight. He might get it, and that is what he needs right here. He really needs to get this here. We talk about the bookmarking, talk about the lap traffic. He gets by. Sintez Galindo, it's going to be a tight one. He gets by. Who doesn't get by? Fabian, unfortunately. He loses out.
Yeah, and that was very awkward timing for Reed Miller, who has been trying to catch up to Del Olmo here. And unfortunately, him being put offline through the S's cost him a bit of time of his own. But I guess better to continue to race on rather than try and cut off these GTPs as they now go by the leader of Lescala, who also has to compromise his line, but he's got that handy buffer to help keep him safe. Jungbluth up next to try and cycle on through. And we saw the onboard there with Laust Olsen. It does feel like he's feeling the pressure a bit. Sintez Galindo is right on top of him. We saw the pucker factor increase for a brief moment as those lips started to kind of scrunch together. But coming down to complete another lap, we are just hitting the halfway point. So there's plenty of racing to go. A lot can happen from here.
20 minutes. A lot can happen in 20 minutes, and we have seen. I mean, we lost 2 GTOs in 1 lap. We could be same could happen again. Knock on wood, we don't want that. We do not want anybody losing out here. We're not trying to cause a rain dance or something, but anything can happen here. You can start to see that is a slow running car there, but he is able to get by. That is the 19 of Diego Mastretta. I think he just had a little bit of traffic, but he's coming around now. And in front of him is still that battle. Robert Plumley, he's managed to get away from Hamill Smith, but there is another battle going on, and that Dave Cameron in Haycock's battle in the GTOs is still brewing, and they are still close. They've been trading places for the last couple of laps. I wonder if Cameron's going to try and make a move this time as they come over the S's. I think he's in fact, he's losing time right now. He won't be able to make anything at the moment. Frankly, there's not going to be a GTP interrupting their race anytime for the next couple corners. But he needs a good little run here. That's a nice little run through. Catches up to Haycock. Really nice showing here from Dave Cameron on what I think it's his first showing in, I want to say, a couple of seasons. In fact, he's got a really nice run. Looked at a move there on Ian, but decided against it.
Ian wanting to get a good result here this season, because in both races he was taken out pretty much at the very beginning, and this time at least he made it to halfway. But a top 5 beckons if he could just bring it home from here, and the car absolutely sliding through the toe of the boot. He is pushing the limits of things. It's not a particularly hot day, but I'm sure the rubber is not appreciating what he is putting through them right now.
Can he look to see anything here going up into turn 9? nothing yet. You can start to see Dave Cameron. He's getting some really nice exit apex speeds here. I'll try and get my words out in a minute. And he's really just getting that throttle down early. He's got a lot of confidence here on the car. You can see, especially here, gets a really nice launch. That is Amber Dauenbau getting by and able to get by with no issues to hold them up. But then, of course, that helps Ian because that's a little bit of slipstream he gets. So for Cameron, he needs a nice run. And this might be it, really going in. Did he get a little bit compromised by Ian taking a slower line? Maybe not. I think he'll be happy to just stay here at the moment. He's not looking aggressive. There's 10 seconds ahead of these two and Reed Miller. There's 3.5 seconds between them and Robert Plumley. That he can afford to just take his time. He's not being held up, and he's not trying to be aggressive and losing time either.
And Dave doesn't seem like he's all that quick in a straight line, which is interesting. I do believe there's a little bit of aero you can affect on these cars, but it's not much. And Haycock's just much better when he gets up to the top. Could be the gearing as well of the cars. Maybe just better set up for that long straight, because Cameron has been sitting behind, but now he's got his best run yet. This forces a defense from Ian Haycock's down to the toe of the boot. He breaks a little bit early, going the long way around and using the banking of that corner. Dave Cameron has a nose ahead, but it's not over quite yet. They head to the toe of the boot. Now, once again, Haycock's has the inside, the desired line. He's pretty shallow, though. Not sure if this is going to work out well for him. Able to use the paved runoff. Dave Cameron is finally able to shut the door, but no, he is going to stay defensive instead, taking a bit of an undesired line, and he manages it well. Cameron, it took a few corners, but he's in fourth.
Set that up beautifully with that move around the outside of the toe. He didn't get it officially done, but he was able to then keep it going with the heel, and then was able to just block off any attempt of a fight back there going into turn 9. Fantastic driving from Dave Cameron to take that P4. The battle is still going, though, because we know that there is a little bit of top speed damage. I think it is damage for Dave Cameron. Remember, he got caught in that little incident there, and that's a car that has definitely been caught in an incident. Move out the way as fast as you can. He hits the wall. That's the 27. That's Lowe's. What has happened there? Looks like Pablo's had a little bit of a spin. Can he get that going? This is going to be an Austin Powers moment. Easy, easy, just toe. Just toe. Yeah. And there we go. And that's the best way.
Yeah, there is a tunnel underneath there. That's as wide as they can make those barriers. And he kind of realized that, yeah, this is pointless at this stage. So we come back to Cameron and Haycock's. And, yeah, Ian's trying to hold on to it as they fly down towards the chute. For those that are tuning in for one of the first times or haven't really been watching Kamel for all that long, Ian has a very interesting and inspiring story. Actually, in the past year, has lost one of his legs due to a motorcycle accident. He, within weeks, came back and was racing already with a modified racing rig, a sim rig, and is now using a potentiometer for his for one of his pedals. So Ian Haycock's is showing guys that it doesn't matter what you got, you can still be fast if you set your mind to it. And he's still trying to fight back on Cameron here.
Beautiful, beautiful. And that was set up by just Cameron taking a little bit of a wider line around the heel of the boot. And it was almost for a split second there. Haycock was able to get a move in, but no, was unable to. And you can see he starts to go again. But it's interesting because Cameron took almost like a conventional line, a modern day line now that people start to use in the sim. He can go a little bit wider now with that runoff. And he was able to do that, but he just did that because he went too hot into the corner. So he lost a little bit of speed there. He was lucky that he had that exit there, so he was able to just hold on. You start to see the difference, though. He is catching Ian just going up the straights here with 14 minutes remaining in the race. He is starting to look. Can he get a run here? Again, it's not close enough. And now it's close enough, though. Look at that speed. Dave Cameron, where did that come from Ian Haycock? Dave Cameron had no response there at the top end of the speed.
Yeah, I had mentioned that a lap or two ago, and I didn't realize it was that far different. So clearly, Ian Haycock's is a bullet today, and he's making life annoying and difficult for Cameron. Well, Cameron's going to hassle him right back as he took a look coming down to the chute, but then came back to the racing line. Togo Hisada sitting in 13th, has his car repaired and is back out, but he's not racing anybody. He's trying to play patient. He's going to get one, but not two. Well, maybe he will.
Gets to, but is that going to affect anything there? I think Ian's going to be affected here, but he's able to hold on to that. Fantastic there, really around the outside, force around the outside, Ian holding that position there, able to keep it going. I want to just point something out here. While these two have been having some fantastic battles, Robert Plumley is starting to catch up to them, as is Kamel Smith. They are both starting to just pull in together. It is almost turning into a 3-car battle here, almost a 4-car. Just look how close they are. Look how close they're starting to go. That gap now between Cameron and Plumley is a second. Kamel Smith not able to get there, getting held up by traffic going around. But officially now, I think we can say this is a 3-car battle in the GTOs for this 4th, 5th, and 6th place. As more GTPs go by. Look at that send from Sintes Galindo, because that's a battle for P2 that he's been trying to catch up to, losing out time because of the lap traffic. But what does Cameron have in a result here? Don't think he does, but he does now. He got to go back because that was a little bit there. Fabian going past Ian, and Ian had to make an adjustment. He's lost a bit of speed, so they're going to go side by side. Cameron's got the outside though. Can he make this? And Ian decides not worth it. And he gets held up because Mudrak put himself in between the both of them.
And Plumley gets the spot as well. It doesn't surprise me. Ian tends to try to just get to the end of these races. You can see he can be a fierce fighter if he wants to, but I think he kind of read the writing on the wall on that one. Lets him go and sees if it comes back to him later. Getting down to almost the last quarter of this race now, and you talked about it. Plumley on the move, has caught back up to Dave Cameron, trying to recover from his earlier incident. Robert Plumley in the 20, just has about half a second more, and he could be getting it into 4th position.
Yeah, he's looking really strong. Great recovery here from Plumley. And he is trying to battle. The battle of the two content creators, Dave Cameron, Robert Plumley. Which one of them is going to be the one that comes out on top today? Plumley looking to see what line he has. Now remember, both of these drivers, they did get caught in an incident. What damage is on both of these drivers? That's the one I'm looking forward to. We know Dave Cameron, he does not have that top end speed in this car anymore, as we just saw a couple laps ago with Ian overtaking him so easily right at the top of the hill. It will be interesting, but there are other battles going. We've been enjoying that battle, but look at this at the moment with the GTPs trying to get around the GTO. That is very tight for Sintes Galindo and Tragerveld and Youngblood and Mudrak. They're 4-2 by 1 at the moment, and Youngblood gets by Obe, and Mudrak is slowly catching. This was a battle that's just spawned by the lap traffic, and all of a sudden, it is looking fantastic.
That was Del Olmo that they went by in the S's, and beautifully read scenario there for Youngblood to use that to his advantage. That took a few corners to settle in. Plumley, as we were watching that, has just overtaken Cameron, and I'm going to guess that was on the straightaway. It was indeed. I don't see any body damage on Cameron's car. I wonder if they touched one of the corners of the cars, because these things have been known to lose power in the 4-wheel drive if you just clip one of them. So I get the sense that maybe Cameron is not running at 10 tenths.
Would not surprise me. Remember, he did have that moment earlier in the race where he clipped the grass, fought it back, was able to fight back, hold on to that position, and was able to continue going with minimal damage, but it was a bit of an incident there. Able to hold on now with Dave Cameron as well, as he's holding with Dave Cameron. There is the battles as well. You're not missing anything either in the GTPs. It's battled everywhere with 9 minutes remaining. Where do you look at the moment? We got to look at the best battle right now with Dave Cameron and Robert Plumley. Is there going to be a move here? Ian Haycox is also there as well. They've been going 2 by 2 in these battles, and then something happens, and then they all bunch up together, an overtake happens, and then they just go back to 2 by 2. Are we going to see that effect again? I'm not sure. We've got another GTP coming by. They'll have to get by the S's. Now, last time they came up the S's, Ian had to make an adjustment because of where the GTP was going. Is there going to be one this time? In fact, no, Diego, he actually holds the position and he waits and then almost tried to squeeze into a gap that's not there. Just as I was praising, I think a little bit of a miscommunication happened.
So Cameron now sees Ian Haycox with him yet again. So Haycox's patience seems to be paying off. So the 17 knows he's quicker in a straight line than the 4. Can he easily slip by next time out of the 90 as they run up the hill? He was a little too far back this time. And also, if he does, is he going to bring along Kamel Smith? Don't forget, he's back there in the 26 car, is kind of hovering around. You talked about it, and all 4 cars are slowly coming together.
One mistake and you're losing more than just a position here. If you're Robert Plumley and you get sent a little bit wide from a Dave Cameron move, you know Ian's going to be making that move. And if Ian makes that move, Jamie's going to be there and he'll try to look for it. In fact, here comes Ian, going to be making a move side by side onto Dave Cameron. Can he make this? We know how good Dave is going around the outside of the hill. He's able to get this, and they're still side by side, going up into turn 9. Amber's right behind the GTP will hold on. Can he get the over-under? Ian cannot get the over-under, and he's going to be compromised by that GTP. Another attempt of a move, and once again, here comes Kamel Smith right behind them, and Robert Plumley, he's just won the lottery, really. He's well ahead now. He's just starting to pull away there. He's still in that slipstream, but able to use that little battle to just get a little bit of a breather. And is there going to be another move from Haycock? No. Wait again at the top of the hill, though, because I think Ian will have that top-end speed yet again, even though Dave does have a little bit of slipstream.
Ian's a savvy character. I think he knew it wasn't worth trying to pass in the 90. He knew this is where he wants it, trying to ease by him in a straight line. Let's see if he starts to catch up. He's already got about 3 miles an hour more. No, he gives a big lift. He sees Castillo coming along and lets the GTP through.
Lets the GTP through, and that's the right thing to do, but a little god just behind. Kamel Smith not realizing how slow Haycox was there, almost went into the back of him. They're losing a little bit of time now. We're back to that 2x2 because all of a sudden Haycox and Kamel Smith, and then you've got Cameron and Plumley. Stop me if you've heard that before. As they continue going on, Kamel Smith now looking to see if he can make any moves, trying to see if he can set himself up for a run once he gets out of the tow with 6 minutes remaining. Is he able to just get going? He isn't. Ian really showing the patience and the ability there that you need on the throttle, coming out of the tow. And then around he goes again into the hill. And I was saying they're 2x2. Well, I think they're practically almost caught up once again, but they're also caught up here in the GTPs. That is Ove, that is Fabian, that is Joseph. We've got 3 cars again. And stop me if you've heard it once again. Traffic had brought them all together.
But it also allowed an opportunity to pass as Trangeray did get by Jungbluth down the back stretch. Let's see if they're going to be close enough, because this is pretty much the last good place to pass here. But it does not appear to be the case. So let's take a look at the action. Just got a good slipstream, it looks like. And once he had that tow, he pops out and then plays that game of chicken all the way down into the braking, and he wins it.
Love it. That's what you want to see. That's what you want to see. A little bit of guessing game there. A little bit of chess as well by both of the drivers. Then getting by. I wouldn't be surprised if Mudrack, he looks like he wants to make a move on Fabian, and he's going to do it a little bit late. They're still side by side, almost coming together. And Joseph cannot make that. Does that affect them trying to catch up here to Ove? That's going to be one to see, but Mudrack, he will get the slipstream here. He will use all of that downforce, all of that aero as he can. Who's going to be the one to make the move here with 5 minutes remaining? He takes the inside. Does Fabian? Joseph's going to try and do this around the outside. No, he backed out of it. Is that going to affect Fabian? Is that a little bit of gamesmanship there? Let's see if you make a mistake, says Joseph. And Fabian doesn't. In fact, he gets right on the back of Ove. We've gone from one freeway battle to another freeway battle. This is what you want to see with just 4.5 minutes to go.
Yeah, Mudrack feeling ambitious 2 times in 1 lap. He's tried to make that move. Neither one has stuck. As Ian Haycock still in the midst of action with Dave Cameron. This is for the 5th spot, and the inside pays dividends there in turn 9. That off-camber corner, unfortunately, not going to see another round the outside pass here today.
We've still got time for one more round the outside pass. Surely we've got one as well. But Cameron getting past Haycock and Kamel Smith as well, getting by. And they're going to be a little bit careful because very shortly they'll get caught up in that GTP battle as well. So you'll have all that going. Is there going to be a late move here? Look at this. This might hold them up. Dave Cameron's going to be held up from his starter. Just making that late move there going in. Does that allow? No, I was going to say, does that allow the Ian Haycocks to make a move here? Look at them going around the traffic.
That is for second place. Laust Olsen just about lost it to Sintez Galindo. Covered him off in time. Forced him to have to slam on the brakes by plugging up the only open hole. And now they come into the inner loop. But this has caught him up tremendously. And now that he's there, he knows with 3 minutes left, he's got to try and be aggressive to take P2 away.
Can he find a move? Can he use? There's not a lot. Well, he can't use a lot of traffic. There's not a lot of traffic around to use at the moment. He's going to have to find his way using the slipstream. We've got the battles as well. We've also got those GTPs that were battling for 4th and 5th. Ove and Fabian, they're also trying to get around these GTPs as well. Where do you look at the moment? We've got to keep an eye everywhere. Look how close everything is. Mudrak may be looking for a move here. And it's just getting held up from Dave Cameron there. A little bit of a miscommunication once again, such is the nature of multi-class racing. That is going to happen for him. There's only 2 laps left for these guys after this lap. Can they find something? In fact, look at this. Ove's getting held up from Robert Plumley. That may just bring everybody together, but into turn 10 they go. Which one of them's going to be held up? It's going to be Mudrak. He's going to squeeze through that gap. Look how desperate. He wants that P5. He knows how important that top 5 is going to be for him.
He wants those points. He knows that he's up there already early in the season, that he's got to take whatever he can get as they plunge down into the 90. Once again, a little wide for Jungbluth and a big bobble as he bounces over the outside curb, and Mudrak is going to take advantage. He's got the slipstream and more momentum as they hit the top of the hill, 175 miles an hour as they look for their brake markers coming into the inner loop. A nose ahead, but he brakes early compared to Fabian Jungbluth, and that's the second time we've seen Fabian able to dash into the inner loop much quicker than his rivals.
Mudrak continues to ask the question. He's playing it safe. He'd be okay. He'd be happy with a P6, but you know in the race where he wants to get more positions. Can he find more positions? He knows that Ove might be out of his range now. He should have a chance at P5 around the outside. That's Reed Miller getting a little bit washed out of the corner. A little bit of a slide there from Mudrak. There's both GTPs there having a little bit of a moment trying to get around the corner and just trying to hold on. Ove's gone now at the moment unless he gets held up by more traffic, and once again, more drivers. Alex Gao, 15 seconds ahead, sets the fastest lap of the race as he takes the white flag with 1 lap to go here, and we've still got battles here and battles in the GTOs.
About a minute ago, our second place in the GTOs, Javier Del Olmo, had to save the car in a big way coming through the chute. I don't know if we have time for the replay, but we've got about half a lap left for Alex Gao. Leskala still has 12 seconds over the nearest rival. He is way up the road. And then there's this fight, of course, between Jungbluth and Mudrak. Last time, he was not able to outbrake him. What did he learn from that? Can he get up beside him as he starts to approach? He's not nearly as close this time. He's going to have to be even braver. Tries to get to the inside, but he's covered off. Jungbluth with the shallow entry. Does that make him slow? It does a little bit, cutting back underneath and getting through the outer loop. It looks like Mudrak has the job done potentially, but this is the leader. That's Leskala, and they're going to give him just enough space as the battle carries on. And look at that. What a move by Mudrak.
He tried to set that up for the last 2 laps. He's been asking the question time after time to Fabian, and finally, he makes that move. Fabian cannot do anything about it. Brilliant there, and Mudrak throws it in. Alex Gao's going to take the victory. What a victory for Alex Gao, though.
Fantastic stuff for Alex. And behind him, Laust Olsen holds on with Sintez Galindo breathing down his neck to get second. Aitor will have to settle for third. Our current reigning champion still keeping himself in the hunt, but looking for more victories like he had last season. Meanwhile, Yuko Leskala, he missed his second qualifying lap. That may have been what cost him the pole position in this series. That doesn't count for points, and maybe he doesn't care because he takes maximum points here today in New York, winning for the GTOs, as behind them, Del Olmo and Miller will manage to finish in second and third. But Plumley, well, he's dropped Cameron, in a big way. And instead, it's the battle now for 6 between Hamel-Smith and Haycox as they come through the penultimate turn. And Jamie's going to chop off Ian Haycox, not letting him get his nose in, coming down through the last of the corners. And that's going to be Jamie Hamel-Smith claiming 6. Haycox only good enough for 7th today. That's among the last of our drivers to finish here, so we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews, so stick around.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to ride around the world.
I'm Mick Claridge, and I'm going to ride around the world on my bike.
My son, he gave me advice at the start of this ride, and he looked at me and just said, "Dad, don't be a moron."
Let me do my animal signal to gain their respect. How's it going, Sally? Yeah, I'm alright, Mick. How's it going? Worse than that bit in Lord of the Rings where they got into the top and the spiders in the tunnel. I'm just hoping there's a spider at the top of this one to kill me. Freezing.
And I failed. I moroned up the ride.
Welcome back to Watkins, Glen. We just watched Kamel GT do their 3rd round of the season with Alex Gal absolutely dominating, barely getting any screen time, and managing to take the victory over Laus Stolzen by more than 15 seconds. Aitor Sintez Galindo was in 3rd. Behind them, Ove Trangrade got himself up to 4th in the end, but Joseph Mudrack really was full of it today. He went from 9th to 5th as Fabian Jungluth behind him fell backwards to 6th. Xavier Sanchez was P7. Yuri Geisen up 5 spots to get in 8th place. Diego Mastretta was P9. Top 10 rounded out by Amber Dallenbaugh in the 10th position. Anthony Castillo was 11th, followed by Seamus Power, 12th. A shocker for Togo Hisada. After his damage and his contact, he wound up 13th. 2 DNFs for the GTPs and Jack Wells and Michael DeTurk. Craig?
Well, that was a Lescala show. Once again, a fantastic showing there to win by quite a bit of time here. Javier de Olmo really showing that pace that he had at the start of the race there with the qualifying, getting back to that P2. Reed Miller gets a P3, and then Robert Plumley holds on to that 4th after some fantastic battling between himself, Dave Cameron in 5th, Jamie Hamel-Smith in 6th, and Ian Haycox in 7th. Actually, Ian was the biggest loser there, losing 2 places altogether. Hideki Kobe Visto will be 8th, and Carlos Fonseca finishes in 9th. Then you've got Daniel Ivana finishing 10th. Andreas Schuster will be 11th. Pablo Lowe's did finish 2 laps down, but was running at the end of the race. And then, of course, Gregorio Buscemi and Nicholas Makanos both falling earlier on due to accidents. And they do finish in the retirements there. It was a shame to see, but the fantastic battling. One thing we did miss there at the end, we saw Ian and Jamie having a little battle. Ian was able to make the move into the bus stop on the last lap, managed to get around the outside into the inside of the inner loop there. But then in just as we went to cameras there, we just missed it there. There's been so much action-packed racing here. We just missed the move there that Jamie had at the end. But he apologized for what he said with the dive bomb, and everyone's just happy. And it's just a happy family by everybody.
Yeah, Kamel, even though they can bicker sometimes, they're a very close-knit community, and they usually try and make up pretty quick. Hamel-Smith actually joins us as our 6th-place finisher in the GTOs, getting ready to chat about his race and all the action that he was in the midst of. Jamie, it seemed like the mid-pack was having a lot of fun out there, but we did notice that a few of the GTOs seemed to be a little bit quicker in a straight line. We couldn't tell if that was damage or if the setups could really be that significantly different. Have you found, in your experience, there's something you could do to be that much quicker down the backstretch?
Yeah, I think so. I actually swapped my setup maybe 20 minutes before the race this morning. The setup I was practicing with had longer 5th gear. and then I grabbed one from Carradine that had a shorter fifth gear, a little bit more appropriate for Watkins Glen with the chicane. The last time we did it, I believe it was without the inner loop. So I think that might have something to do with it. I was topping out my gearing pretty much everywhere.
Well, that certainly made it frustrating, I'm sure. But after Fuji last week with a new track, did this feel good to get back to a place that a lot of the Campbell guys tend to seem very at home?
Yeah, it felt great. And additionally, the racing, at least in the GTOs, is always great at Watkins Glen. It's just close battles, difficult to pass, but possible. So I had a ton of fun, and we had some nice names in there too.
Well, it's going to be tight confines next time out. We go to Brands Hatch, where things will be probably even more frantic. How you're looking forward to going over to England?
Yeah. I really enjoy Brands. I've had maybe one good result there in the past, so I'm hopeful that I can do well there again.
That was Jamie Hamill-Smith, our sixth place finisher in the GTOs, which takes us to the win for Alex Gal, where Craig King has caught up with the man that really never looked back on that victory.
Yeah, Alex, congratulations on that victory. It seemed a little bit like you had a little bit extra pace to everybody today. How did you find the conditions? Because I know a lot of people, we've dealt with hotter temperatures in other series. This is nice and cool. How did you deal with the Watkins and the GTPs around here today?
Hey guys, no, the track felt quite. I mean, Watkins Glen is a great surface when it's quite fast. I mean, out of camber, you can go really quick in the corners, especially with that car. And I love that car, so I felt really good. I think my pace also came from like taking the bus stop a little bit better. I was eager to go up to the wall, and people didn't really do that. So that's maybe why I was finding 2-3 tenths a lap.
Yeah, I think we did see somebody making a mistake there and crashing out. Lap traffic is always a challenge at Watkins. How did you find the lap traffic around here today?
Well, I may have been happy it splitted because traffic was quite nice. I didn't have too many problems. This track is not too hard also for traffic. There is a lot worse. So I guess the Alis also were quite happy it split. I mean, it's kind of it's not, even if it didn't split, it would have been too bad. Yesterday was also quite difficult, but it's not too bad today.
So we've had the nice wide and high speeds of Watkins Glen. Going to be a little bit different next week with Brands Hatch. What are you expecting to see at Brands Hatch?
I don't think I'll is Brands Hatch, but traffic is not going to be great. For sure, it's super tight. Setup may be quite easy for everyone. I guess there is not going to be too much gaps in pace. So if there is battles and traffic, that's going to be difficult.
Well, Alex, hopefully we get to see you next week in another dominating fashion, and we look forward to seeing you with all four wheels on the track, surviving at Brands Hatch. Until then, have a good evening and enjoy your rest of your weekend.
All right, see you guys.
It was Alex Gal, our winner here today in the GTPs. We've got second in the prototypes as well. Laust Olsen now going to join us, and he, instead of was focused on the win, seemed to be more focused on trying to keep everybody behind between Aitor and Fabian and everybody just kind of coming up your backside there. You had your mirrors full, it looked like.
Yeah, I had. Alex was long gone. He's one of the true aliens of this series. I must admit, I didn't have a chance to stay with him. But Fabian and Aitor, a very good fight with those. I think I was a little quicker, but each time we hit traffic, they caught up again. So I don't know. Aitor is annoyingly good with traffic, and I seem to suck at it. So sorry for the language. So that was quite hard to keep him behind. I must say I'm really all exhausted now.
That's understandable. I mean, you had so much to try and keep track of during that race. Now, we posited during the race itself about who went what way with the setup, because this is such a fast track, but there's a lot of long corners as well. Did you try to put a little more downforce in it, or did you want to keep yourself safer on the straights?
A little compromise. I earlier this week raced with a three-wing setup, but that was very unstable and difficult to drive. And then Alex, he posted a six-wing setup that I tried yesterday, and it's very quick, very grippy, and very stable. So I went down to five-wing today, but still using his set as a base, and that seemed to work really well. Was a little bit loose in the end with worn rear tires, but otherwise it was good all the way. So it was a compromise.
It was a compromise that worked out pretty well in your favor. Anybody help make this podium happen for you today?
Yeah, Alex for sharing the setup, and then I want to thank my father, who is always with me as a spotter. And then, of course, you guys for the broadcast and the community, and all of them. Really good community here, so I enjoyed it much.
That was Laust Olsen, your second place finisher here today at Watkins Glen. Finally, Craig going to be chatting with third place behind him, a current reigning champion, Aitor Sintez Galindo.
Yeah, Aitor, it looked like a very slice and dicing around there today with the lap traffic. It seemed like every time you had a chance to catch up to somebody, the traffic either ebbed and flowed against you. So did you find it a little bit stressful out there with the traffic?
Well, it was not as stressful as I expected because it was a good... because it's split, so it was 28 cars instead of 55, which would have been much, much worse. But yeah, sometimes traffic was in my favor, traffic wasn't. For example, Laust on the 5 minutes to go, he had like an issue with three Audi which were together, and when he got caught up in all the mess. But yeah, it was a very difficult race. Well, not difficult, but very stressful. And I'm sweating buckets. Congratulations to Laus, because he needed the result more than me. And yeah, happy with the result. Another podium for me.
Yeah, it's another podium for you, and it does help in your quest for another championship, even with Alex taking home that victory. Did you find there was more you could have got from the setup, because you know, getting caught out like that from Laus with the pace as well, and Alex with the pace? Did you find there was anything you might have missed in the setup? Or is there a setup? You know, some of the guys were talking about taking less wing. Is there any regrets you have, or is there anything you feel you could have done?
Well, prior to the race, I was having like an internal debate, like, do I go for less wing or more wing? Eventually, I went for less wing because I knew that if I had like an issue that I needed top speed to pass cars, it was in my favor. So. Yeah, eventually I went for less wing. It worked in my favor because I could pass Fabian and almost could catch Laus, but yeah, as I can see in the screen, apparently I had some damage, probably from the first lap. So eventually we ran probably the same setup because Alex Gall's setup was very good and everyone was very comfortable driving with it. So yeah, it was a risky move. Eventually paid off. But I'm judging for the camera and seeing the damage. Probably, if I didn't have the damage, probably could have caught up Laus and pass it. But yeah, that's racing.
That definitely is racing. It's the way it goes sometimes. And of course, now with Watkins Glen, now in our mirror, it's all Brands Hatch. It's a very fun track, I must admit. But are you looking forward to Brands Hatch, because it is multi-class racing, and these are some pretty quick cars with the downforce. So, what are your thoughts going into the Brands Hatch week coming up?
Yeah, Brands Hatch. Well, we had 3 good tracks, and now we're going to the tricky ones. Well, it's the usual Kamel schedule. We have good tracks, and then we have sketchy ones. I'm not looking forward, honestly, because I know for a fact that when it's a tricky track like this, or narrow one, it's chaos. Most of the time it works for me, but I fear that the day that it might not work in my favor. So anyway, I try to fight for a championship as well. Try to get as many points as possible again, and yeah, predate on over everybody's misfortunes and mistakes, and yeah, try to go a good week as usual.
Well, let's hope for your sake we don't see you crashing the wall or getting damaged from lap traffic. Let's hope we see you with a nice clean race next week. All be the best to see you having some good racing out there. We hope to see you next week. We hope to see some fun racing from you. From until then, though, have a good evening and enjoy the rest of your weekend, Aitor.
Thank you, guys. I'll see you next week at Brands.
That was Aitor Suntes Galindo, who finished third this race here at Watkins Glen, which is going to wrap us up and give a big thank you to the Kamel GT community for bringing us back for another season of coverage. But we also want to thank our team today, Craig, Zach, and Dougie. You can make sure to check out our social media website and merchandise store that we'll list here on the screen. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment on GSRC. The next race, as we mentioned, is Brands Hatch. That'll be Saturday, July 9th at 1 p.m. Eastern, but be sure to check out our other broadcasts that we've listed here, because until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.